This week's Biofriendly Podcast deals with some heavy subject matter. So if that's not for you, or if you've got young kids in the car, you might want to turn this one off.
I don't know. That's perfect. I even like to laugh.
Yeah.
This whole thing should be part of the disclaimer.
Yeah.
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
It's actually quite nice. My ears are not blown apart.
Oh, that's good. That is great. I like the placement of the letters inside of the earphones that tell you which one's the loud one.
Yeah.
Which one's really not loud.
Loud and really not loud.
Yeah.
That used to be my old ones.
I know it was.
That's what it was.
It was.
But now these ones, there's loud and the same loudness.
The same loudness. They work.
And right ear is the same loudness.
Raw ear is the same.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well,
Do you think that Veronica's going to kill us?
I think so.
I
feel like we're cheating on her.
A little bit?
Yeah, with nobody.
Yeah.
That's
worse.
Yeah,
she's going to be like, that's way worse.
Like if we would have just gone out on the street today, if we'd gone to lunch and found someone and said, hey, we're going to record a podcast. We're short one of our team. Would you come join us? She'd be like, that's almost better than you just going without anyone.
Because then she has someone to kill.
Yes, then she can take them out.
Right. She has someone that she can really take her frustration out on. But in this case, it's like, it's us.
It's just us.
It's complicated.
Yeah, it's just complicated. We made the judgment call. We said, we need to get a podcast done this week. We don't have Veronica with us. Should we just go for it? And with sadness in our hearts, we decided, let's do it.
And so here we are.
Here we are.
No Veronica.
No Veronica. You can tell because there's no cute little giggle.
She's wonderful and she's
is.
cute, but she's dangerous.
She is dangerous. That girl is poison.
You can tell deep down. Don't let the gigantic smile.
I know. She has
the
the biggest
joy
smile
in her heart.
She will destroy you.
The friendliness, the kindness. All of these aspects of Veronica's personality, don't let them fool you. She'll cut it.
She'll cut you. She'll cut you. Well, she's a tough cookie.
Yeah,
she really is. Yep. She's good, and we'll have to get. Some podcasts have like a soundboard. We need to have like a soundboard of whenever she's not here, and we can
fake it.
We can fake it.
Yeah,
because it does feel quiet.
It does. You can hear the echo.
You can hear the echo in the room.
Yeah.
It's tough. Because there's an empty chair over there.
There is.
There's actually no chair. There's just no...
Empty chairs and empty tables.
Empty chairs and empty tables. And I actually, out of habit, I brought her microphone out to set up, and I was like,
Oh, it hurts. It hurts even more.
It hurts even more.
It hurts even more to see a microphone to nowhere.
To nowhere. Mic'd nothing.
Which was a great album.
It was. Microphone to Nowhere?
Yeah.
Oh, that was such a good album. Who was that by?
That was Reginald Starsky and
Reginald Starsky.
And the Angel Patrol of the past.
Reginald Starsky and the Angel Patrol of the Past.
Yeah, it's a good band.
Oh.
They're quality.
Man, please, someone out there start that band right now. Please take that name. That's so good. The Angel Patrol of the Past.
That's them.
I love it.
They're a good band.
They are.
Yeah.
They Microphone to Nowhere.
Nowhere.
It really was this it's this album.
Seminal.
Yeah, seminal. Absolutely. Yeah. How are you doing this fine afternoon?
Well, I got an afternoon coffee. And that's always great.
Yeah, you almost took all the cream too.
I literally did. I was making a latte and I ran out of milk. And then Jacob's like, well, is there any half and half in there? Because he wanted to make sure I didn't take the half and half. I said, there is half and half. And I started pouring it into the thing. And he's like, no.
I saw him pouring it into his thing. And I was like, well, I did.
So we had to pour. He got a little bit of vanilla flavor probably in his coffee.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
It's delicious. Yeah. I actually don't mind it. It's lovely. It's just a nice time of day to have a little pick-me-up.
Yeah.
I love an afternoon Joe. I'm starting to do it at home now.
Yeah, afternoon Joe.
Yeah. So it's become a tradition of ours here that mid-afternoon I just make a small coffee. And so now when I'm at home, Saturday, Sunday, I get to around this hour and I'm like, I think I'm going to make myself a small coffee.
A small coffee, yeah. And I've been actually generally doing teas in the afternoon because I'm trying to peel back on the volume of coffee. Not so much the caffeine. I'm down with caffeine. Kill me with it.
Oh, I am down with caffeine.
Yeah,
hook me up.
Yeah, but the coffee, I think sometimes I'll get a little hard.
Yeah. Do you think it's the acidity?
I think it's the acidity. So the tea is a few more tannins.
Well, and you grew up with tea.
I did grow up with tea.
Tea is part of your culture.
Yeah. I like the heat.
Yeah. You like the heat. And if you, I mean, look, I've talked about it before. I am Ted Lasso-y about my teas. I don't like them at all.
Sure.
But I can understand why people do, because there are a lot of people who do love tea.
Right. You accept that people can like something so gross.
Yes. I accept that the world is broken.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to.
Which is actually, go ahead, finish your thought.
That's what I was going to say. That's a segue, isn't
That's
it?
a segue. Yes, you got where I was headed, which was I said the world is broken. We were trying to figure out, what we wanted to talk about this week. And we started because we were having a conversation in the car just kind of about the craziness of the world and of the headlines and the videos and the things that upset everybody and how disturbing that can be. That's where we started.
Yes.
And
to quote Ron DeSantis, it's silly season.
It's silly season. Ron DeSantis said that. It's silly season.
Politicians are hilarious when they're trying to be like they want to say something else.
They want to say another
but they've
word.
got to keep their things clean, and they say something that's just like a dad thing.
Yeah, it's silly season.
He was talking about because Trump doesn't follow those rules.
Right, of course.
He just says what he's going to say.
Sorry
if we're getting a little political, but every once in a while
we're going to touch on it a little bit today.
We're not going to pick on any group. That's our goal always. Yeah. But we're going to talk about a few things. But it was funny. He was getting ripped on because Trump's trying to win an election and DeSantis is in the way. And they asked him for his response. And he's like, "Well, it's silly season out there." And I think that's actually about right. Yeah. We're seeing today when we were talking about that, we're like, man, the amount of just political garbage that is being foisted upon us without our consent or desire.
It's just everywhere. And I'm not that crazy about Twitter anymore. Yeah. But something has changed in that the way that the algorithm is. It used to only send me the things that I followed or that I was into. Right. That all changed about a month ago.
What's it sending you now?
Political, angry, hate things that are on
from everywhere or just from one side or from
everywhere, both sides.
Oh God!
And so that's why I was kind of like, what's going on here? And so all I can assume.
I was gonna say, at least if it's the political stuff you agree with, it's hateful, but you can at least be like, well,
no, it's awful, and it can't be. If somebody was saying, well, it's the algorithm, it's feeding you what it thinks you want to see. It's like, well, that can't be possible because it's not what I want to see. But I think that they've changed it, and I don't know if it's because it's under the new ownership under Elon or whatever, that they are kind of pushing to the top maybe the things that are getting the most attention. So that might be what's being passed my way. But I don't like it. No, sir. I do not like it.
Facebook already proved that long term that doesn't work. Right. Like the idea at the time was if we just give people the thing that keeps them on the platform and amp them up and make them go crazy over what the stuff is, then they'll stay on the platform. We can keep making money off them. And that worked for a while until something else came along that gave them what they actually want. Right. So Facebook was dominant, and then TikTok was like, well, okay, just our algorithm's going to over time pinpoint exactly the thing that you want to see and show you that exact thing. Yeah. And that's why it's ruling the whole everything, right?
That's why it dominates.
Right. And Facebook, I think, realized, oh, God, we can't. Now they're trying to switch back to becoming what they used to be. Yeah. Which is, I think, good news. Yeah. I would rather it be a place to share photos and videos with my parents. Yeah. But, but I think Twitter may be making the same mistake here. Is that? That's what, based on what you're saying. So I'm gathering. Like, they're just going for what is the most insightful, crazy.
I think so. Whereas, and I thought this was pretty funny to talk about politicians. Obviously TikTok has been on the congressional hearing because they're talking about the banning of it. Yeah. And what's so funny to see is, first of all, I think that the gentleman who runs the company seems to be very kind and patient man as he's being asked a lot of questions. He seems like a nice guy. I don't know him, but he's really having to endure quite the line of questionings. But he seeing a lot of these older generations of people ask these questions. And this one that I thought was hilarious, because if you're familiar with TikTok, the one thing that it does do is it shows you the things that you like. So like the longer you spend and you hover on something, it will feed you more and more of that. So this one guy on the panel goes like, well, I don't know why the TikTok, every time I open it up, it's just half naked women dancing around. And everybody kind of gave pause for a second and said, like, yeah, that's because that's the algorithm giving you what you like. So that made me laugh because I was like, he doesn't realize that the app isn't doing it to you. You're doing it to the app.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of I'm sorry. Should I give a content warning? I know that's a little bit
content warning. Yeah. It
is what it is.
He's a red-blooded male, I'm sure, and that's what happens.
It's fine.
That's a little bit of an embarrassing thing to admit
and not know. Yeah. And not know that that's how the tech works.
Wow.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Wow. Yeah.
But we were talking.
I'm sure if I went on TikTok, all I would get was boobies. For sure.
For sure.
That's probably all I would get.
I mean,
probably
that in like avocado videos.
Definitely. Yeah, how to make the perfect avocado toast.
The perfect avocado toast.
Yeah, and then boobies.
Yeah. Well, sometimes they are one and the same. Yeah. There's a whole channel dedicated to avocados and boobies.
Excellent. Yeah. No, I'll stay off then.
Yeah, I would.
I can't
run for your life.
I can't because if all I see are avocados and boobs, I'll never get off.
You'll never get off.
Yeah.
But we started this conversation this morning because a lot of the stuff that is out there seems really negative, and it does seem hopeless because the stuff that we're getting fed seems like everybody is perpetually has their hands around the other person's throat, and that we're just at war in a social war. And so I saw this article headline, and I was like, oh, we got to do this.
Okay,
we got to talk about this. Now we can keep talking about the politics stuff.
Let's get because I think we've warmed them up for what's to come.
Warmed
right?
it up. Yeah. So it basically the article said, happiest countries prove resilient despite overlapping crisis.
Really?
Yes. So about 10 years ago, it started in 2012. This thing started called the World Happiness Report.
I love it.
It's a publication of the Sustainable Development Solutions Network.
Okay.
So that's what it is. They basically go around and look at the quality of life and do a bunch of metrics and data and surveys to kind of see where the happiest people in the world are and like what's making them do better.
I like that.
So overall,
so I get to find out if the people around me are happy or not based on checking out this. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So it said,
because I try to make people miserable, and I'll know if I'm doing a good job.
Yeah. It specifically gave it said the most miserable places in the world, and it was
my house.
It was the house next to yours.
Oh,
so I think you're doing a great job.
Pretty good. I'm the epicenter of unhappiness.
You're literally your neighbor was reported as the most unhappy neighbor. So take that information and do what you will with it. But
a little pat on the back.
I say you got a few more houses to add to that list.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. But it basically said, this is what took me by surprise. It said the world's happiest countries, there's a cause for optimism in the latest report on happiness.
Okay.
For one, benevolence is about 25% higher than it was pre-pandemic.
You know what?
What?
I don't think, if you asked 100 people, where is benevolence now compared to where it was before the pandemic, 100 people would say it's worse.
Yeah.
So that's a surprising piece of news.
Very surprising. Yes.
Okay.
25%. Benevolence to others, especially the helping of strangers, which went up dramatically in 2021, went up.
Interesting.
Stayed high in 2022. Okay. John Helliwell, one of the authors of the World Happiness Report, said in an interview, and global happiness has not taken a hit in 3 years of the COVID-19 pandemic. Life evaluations from 2020 to 2022 have been remarkably resilient, the report says, with global averages basically in line with the 3 years preceding the pandemic.
Wow.
It's surprising.
Wow.
You would think from what we're fed.
Are you kidding me? What you just said. What you just what would, if all you're getting is how angry this group of people is making this group of people, you would be under the impression that we all hate each other.
Yeah, you really would. And I spent 30 seconds on Twitter and I thought, wow, we really do all hate each other. And that's not true. It's not true. The report, which is a publication of the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network, draws on global survey data from people in more than 150 countries. Countries are ranked on happiness based on their average life evaluations over the 3 preceding years. In this case, 2020 to 2022.
That's a crazy pocket.
It's a crazy pocket of time.
Yep.
That pocket of time will be studied in history books. Hold your calls. That pocket of time will be studied in history books forever. They're going to talk about 2020 to 2022.
They will.
Because really, we weren't through it until mid 2022. Really.
Yeah. Look, I honestly, I think that the date that, at least in America, the date that Biden put on it for the end of the emergency, right? So like when the funding stops and all the rest of that, which I think is May at some point. Yeah. I think after that is when things will really start to normalize because it won't be financially beneficial to keep kind of, pushing stuff. Yeah. Right. Like it'll be, people will do stuff because they honestly feel like it's in their best interest, as opposed to they've been convinced to do this for financial reasons.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. So in this thing, their list, I'm about to give you the countries that win. Because there's 20 of them, but I'm going to give you a little lead up to that first. Okay. So this report, which was released just recently, this came out in March, and this group has only been going for 10 years, but this World Happiness Report, you can look up. They actually have the report available online. I made sure to print up at least because I wanted to have the facts right as to how they come up with this data.
All right.
But they've declared that March 20th is the International Day of Happiness because of this. This is when they release this information, March 20th every year. So just so you know, we already missed the International Day of Happiness. So go back to being miserable.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, there's always next year.
There's always next year. So this is a day designated by the United Nations that's making its 10th anniversary in 2023. But there's a 6-year winning streak for the world's happiest nation.
6 straight years of happiness?
They are the ones that win happiness. Okay. And actually, we knew this going in because we're watching a little show with a wonderful character, a comedic actor from a TV show called Schitt's Creek, and he's traveling the world, and he goes here.
Really? You know what? That makes sense. And you look at their values, and you'd see. I think you see simplicity, baby.
That's right. It says for the 6th year in a row, Finland is the world's happiest country. According to World Happiness Report rankings based largely on life evaluations from the Gallup World Poll. The Nordic country and its neighbors, Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, and Norway, all score very well on the measures the report uses to explain its findings. Healthy life expectancy, GDP per capita, social support, low corruption, generosity in a community where people look after each other, and freedom to make key life decisions. Those are the major things that they measure.
Those are pretty good. Those are good things to measure.
Those are good things to measure, okay? So we've had a couple things move around in the spots, but I thought I would tell you, it does give us the lowest. Should we we should probably not focus.
Let's do both. It's an interesting show, right?
You're right. You're right. So it says nations ranked lower.
Well, are there any other top ones that we should? Yeah. Maybe while we're happy. Let's wrap up the happiness.
Okay,
let's see who else is happy.
Okay.
And then I maybe have a little anecdote I want to after that.
Okay, before we get to the sad.
Yeah, from our own life experience, and you can tell me if you agree.
So since we can't all move to Finland, is there something other societies can learn from these rankings? So this is a quote. Oh, I've got to do it in the voice, right? This is from Hellowell. Let's see what the name is here. What's the name of the gentleman? Hellowell? Is it a male or female? There, John Hallowell.
John Hallowell. Okay, so John Hallowell.
What is he? Seems like he's from University of British Columbia. So that's Canadian. It's Canadian. Yep. So he's going to be a nice guy.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all right. So. Are they doing things that we wish we'd seen before and we can start doing? Or is it something unique about their climate and history that make them different? And fortunately, at least from my perspective, the answer is the farmer, said Hallowell, who is a professor of emeritus at the Vancouver School of Economics, University of British Columbia.
An economics professor talking about happiness.
Yeah, right?
Interesting.
Interesting, right?
Okay.
So, taking a holistic view of the well-being of all the components of a society and its members makes for better life evaluations and happier countries. So it says basically Israel moves up to number 4 this year from its ranking of 9 last year. So Israel came up. The Netherlands, number 5. Switzerland, number 8. Luxembourg, number 9. And New Zealand, number 10, round out the top 10. Okay. So basically those other countries that I listed before that are the neighbors, they were the ones in the top other spots, I'm guessing. So Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, Norway.
They're all the same place.
Yeah, they're all doing great over there.
Okay.
So then we get right out of the top 10 and it says Australia, number 12.
Okay.
Canada, number 13.
Okay.
Ireland, 14. The United States, number 15.
Okay, folks, not so bad.
Not so bad. And the United Kingdom, number 19, all made it to the top 20.
Okay.
So I actually was like, when I was starting this thing, I was like, well, of course you're going to talk about all these places that aren't the U.S. And as soon as I saw we were 15, I was like, that's not bad.
That's good.
Out of all those countries, and as big and
220
huge.
countries or something?
Oh, my God, yeah. We to even rank in the top 20 means we're doing a lot better than social media makes you think.
Yeah.
A lot better.
Totally.
But now I want you to share your anecdote before we get to...
Well, actually, I want to hear the bottom first. Because I'm curious.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the very bottom of the list is Afghanistan at number 137. Sorry, I didn't mean for the chuckle there. It comes from a history. I didn't mean to mock Afghanistan. We made a television a web series many years ago, and in the comedy, it was a character talking about where they were going to vacation with their family, and it was a humorous bit that they just casually mentioned Afghanistan because it was
in the middle of the
war.
Yeah.
And so it just made me laugh because I was thinking about the character saying that so casually. Yes. And so I'm not mocking that your country is going through a hard time. I'm just trying to it was a funny bit because we were in the middle of a war and it was like that's not where you would take your children on vacation.
Right.
And that was the joke.
I also find it fascinating that they are measuring less countries than
Yes, they are.
Than FIFA, the World Soccer Organization, recognizes for the World Cup Championships.
Yeah, totally. They way less.
Just putting that out
there.
there.
Yeah, that's true. Lebanon is one rank above at number 136.
Okay.
Average life evaluations in these countries are more than 5 points lower on a scale from 0 to 10 than in the 10 happiest countries.
That's brutal.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine put both countries very much in the global spotlight as the 2022 report was released. So where do these two nations stand according to the latest surveys? Well-being in Ukraine has definitely taken a hit. But despite the magnitude of suffering and damage in Ukraine, life evaluations since September 2022 remain higher than in the aftermath of the 2014 annexation, supported now by a stronger sense of common purpose, benevolence, and trust in Ukrainian leadership.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are some of the ones.
Where's Russia?
Russia, in this year's rankings, Russia is number 70 and Ukraine is number 92.
Okay.
So up there.
They're
Things aren't
Russia's
going so
kind of
great.
about middle of the road, I guess.
Yeah, because if you're looking at 137,
it's almost 140,
almost halfway point.
Yeah, Ukraine's pretty far down.
Pretty far down. Yeah.
yeah.
So those are the low ones.
Yeah.
But what were you thinking?
So, do you remember when we were spending a lot of time in Wisconsin?
I do.
And then there was blizzards going on like crazy the whole time we were there, and we went to that coffee shop at the Big Water Coffee Shop, and the person in there who was working was a big hearty fellow with a giant beard, laughing every day and smiling, right? And I think about Pops Hagen, who was with us out there, always laughing, and smiling every day and laughing. And so I asked this guy, I was like, hey, you're it's 4 degrees outside and it's blizzarding and it seems kind of wild, but you're every day we come in here, you're
doing okay.
Your mood seems pretty bright, pretty happy. And he goes, oh well, you live out in conditions like this. It's just, what are you going to do, right? You got to just keep at it and keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was just kind of jolly about, hey, this is life. This is what life is. And so, you work your way out there and then you just keep doing it.
Yeah.
You keep yourself busy with the stuff you got to do and you don't worry about it and you keep on trucking.
Yeah.
And I kind of compare that to the show we watched about Finland.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And how for them, the things that were important were family, nature, animals. That was like, that was it.
Yeah.
That's all. Those were top 3. That's what they cared about. Those were if they had those things, then you could survive.
Yeah.
I'll live. If I have those things, I'm fine.
They had to focus too on just getting food every day, like taking care of that problem, which is still
and snow.
Yeah, you really do realize that if your country isn't just there's a market or a coffee shop on every single corner, and it's you got to eat food, so you got to farm and you got to cook and you got to harvest and you got to hunt. That takes a lot of your time and energy.
Yeah.
So you
don't focus.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of time to get caught up in what's going on with the Kardashians or how your social media is doing. You don't get caught up in any of that stuff because you've just got to focus on got to feed my family today, got to take care of the farm today, got to take care of the things that I need to do. And so I would imagine that really helps in the happiness. It just doesn't burden your brain with a bunch of stuff.
I wonder if you surveyed the states in the U.S., if all of the Midwest states around the Great Lakes where it's just frozen cold and they're doing essentially the same thing as they're doing in the Scandinavian countries.
Yeah.
If they aren't happier.
Yeah. It's quite possibly true that the cities, we live in LA and we live in like the hubbub of entertainment and culture, and so everybody's kind of paying attention to what's going on their television and what's on social media. But I you sometimes forget that there's towns that are like, I don't know about that. Yeah. I don't pay attention to that. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
And you wonder how much more healthy is their mental space.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's dig in a little bit, right?
Okay,
so
let's dig in.
This morning, the thing that sort of got it started off was, and this is, if you don't want to get into a bit of, it's definitely politics.
It's definitely politics. It definitely got a heavy thing to it. And so
we'll try to be respectful best we can.
We're going to do the best we can to be respectful because we understand there's people coming from various perspectives, and we want to be respectful of that.
Right.
Yeah.
There was an interview on, I think, 60 Minutes.
It was 60 Minutes.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. With Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's a congresswoman. Mm-hmm. I don't remember out of which district, but very, very popular as on the far right as kind of a culture warrior, right?
Yeah.
I would say on one side of the culture warrior spectrum, you have her, and on the other side, probably like AOC and the Squad, I guess, right? I'm not saying they're the same. Don't anyone think everybody's different. Everyone had
they get pointed out the same.
Yes.
Like this person said this and this person said this, and that's
right. And they cause probably an equal amount of anger from the other group because of their because they're culture warriors. I guess, right?
Yeah.
So the clip that we were looking at this morning was literally she was saying that every single Democrat is a pedophile.
Every single one. Yeah.
And and I think that
and you say it out loud and you go, oh, wow.
Yeah, I think, and you and I were joking. It's like if you walk down the street and then just let someone immediately says, "Oh, what's your 12?" It's a Republican. Oh, you're a racist.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a Democrat. Oh, you're a pedophile.
Yeah,
it's like okay, so
those are my two choices now.
Yeah.
So
I think that when you're in a kind of a political in silly season, in political silly season, and everybody's trying their best to score points in that primary period where you're only asking for your own most extreme voters.
Yeah,
that things get wildly divisive, and that you start seeing kind of the worst.
It's true.
Get highlighted and brought up to the top of the screen.
Yeah.
So that all you're paying attention to is just kind of stuff that's a little bit Looney Tunes. It is preposterous. And if you believe this, then I am sorry to knock you down a peg, but it's to me preposterous to say that every single person who is a Democrat is a pedophile. Yeah. And it is equally preposterous to me to say that every single person who is a Republican is a racist.
Yeah.
I don't think that in any group of people anywhere you could say that every single one of them is anything.
Yeah, agreed. That's nonsense. That's absolutely nonsense.
Right.
To take an entire group of people and say they're all this one thing is just wildly uninformed.
Yeah.
Wildly.
That's extreme, right?
That's extreme.
And so that gets highlighted and that gets pushed to the forefront, and then it causes, understandably, a fight.
Big fights.
Because anybody who's going to say that everybody like you and all of your friends are all pedophiles, well, the first response to that is going to be like, what are you effing talking about?
What are you talking about?
And then a fight, right? Same thing going the other way. You and everybody you know is a racist. Well, what the F are you talking about? So I think that if you do that enough and you push that enough, and then that stuff gets highlighted by what you just told me with evidence right now on Twitter, up to the top of the algorithm, yeah, of course you're going to think everybody hates each other.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought to myself, we are falling apart, and we're on our way to some kind of terrible civil war again. And
But the thing that's so weird about it, though, is if you talk, and this is where to the point of this article, right?
Right.
anybody I talk to about it, nobody wants that. Nobody wants. The people in Orange County don't want to rise up and have a war with the people in Los Angeles County.
No, not at all. And everybody you talk to that has differing opinions, nobody is doing what you're seeing in these videos and these clips and headlines at all. No.
And it's that's what was so great about this article is it's like, actually, if you look at the
benevolence
data,
is up by 25%.
People are more likely to help each other out right now than they were before.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, this poor person needs a hand. Let me help.
Yeah. We went through a terrible thing in this country, and people came with the pandemic, and people came out of it and went, man, we've really been through the ringer. I'm not going to be as cold to people anymore.
Yeah. Yes.
That means that we improved.
Yes. Because I got to be honest with you, like I am the type of person who would look at that comment and say, well, this is nonsense and it should be ignored because it's obviously not true.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I'm not on Twitter doing that.
No.
Right?
Right.
Nobody I know is on Twitter doing that. No, granted, I don't know everybody.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that the audience, if you looked around, like how many of your friends are on Twitter saying like, this sounds ridiculous?
Yeah.
Probably none.
Yeah.
So the only people then who are saying anything are the people who are willing to get into the fold.
The fight. And when I scrolled, which I couldn't do it for very long, but I scrolled and I thought, what is it? Because at first I was like, what is even the response to this? Yeah. And it was amazing because it was just like you'd expect. It was just, well, she's right. And then there are people like, what are you talking about? You're the problem because of blah, 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 blah. And it just went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I thought, none of these people are going to go, you know what? You're making a lot of sense. You know what I mean? Nobody was like trying to.
Now that I think about it,
they are. It was literally
my neighbor is a pedophile.
It was literally one. It was either just one feels this way and they yell, "You're wrong." Which, I mean, I felt the impulse to be like, I want to fight about this.
Right.
But I was like, where does that lead? It leads nowhere. I can't write a tweet that's arguing against people that are already saying something that is preposterous.
It was bat-esque crazy in this first place.
You go. It's literally like trying to reason with somebody who is so beyond the point of reason.
Right.
That what am I doing here? And so they were highlighting that, and I was thinking, yeah, we're in a lot of trouble. But you see this report, and you go. The only way that everybody uses the app, the only way that anybody sees the ads more and more is how long you spend furious on the app.
Right.
Sadly.
Right.
And this is why we wanted to talk about it, is that there's this craving to be riled up and angry. And honestly, somehow we have to change the conversation in social media and our interaction online to be what we're seeing in action, the benevolence, the kindness, the uplifting, the positivity. And I think there's a hunger for it. There's got to be.
Well, definitely, right? I mean, you see how often we find things on like the Good News Network as an example, right? Mm-hmm. So there certainly is a desire to increase the good news and to start putting more of that out there and to show the nice things that people are doing for each other and the way they're helping each other out. That's all right. When I do go onto social media, which is just, very, very rare, very rare. Generally, that's the stuff that I'll kind of see. I would say the one place where I kind of do a bit of social media is Reddit. It's just something I got into in 2008 that I never really abandoned.
Yeah.
And there's you can tune that thing so that it gives you
all that
just what you want.
Yeah.
And there's actually a lot. There's a lot of made me smile.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people helping people. There's a lot of really heartwarming, inspiring, awesome, cool stuff out there. And I think that this is people are onto it, and that's why Twitter's losing its
Yeah.
But I mean, well beyond, there's an argument that Elon Musk is killing it or whatever. I don't think I think he bought something that was dead. And I think that's why he tried to get out of it.
Yeah, it was already on fire.
Yeah.
It was already on fire.
And I think he realized it was like, oops, I shouldn't have offered $44 billion for this. This is a bad business.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to get out of it or trying to make something out of it, and it's probably not going to work.
Yeah. I mean, and if you fill it with a bunch of rage, then maybe you'll get a surge of users and you can cash out, or something along the way.
Yeah.
But boy, oh boy.
I think it's a mess. I think that people are onto it. It's actually fascinating. With the TikTok ban, it has been fascinating to see that kind of flip in the world, right? Where at first there was, they're going to ban TikTok, and I think most people were kind of like, well, yeah, maybe we got to get the kids off the socials. It's probably a good idea, whatever. And then, the momentum that our brilliant government had to ban it was used to fill the law with just like unbelievable, ridiculous spying opportunities and the ability to just get into your phone and get whatever they want.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, whoa,
no, hey, hold on.
And I think that made people look a little deeper into why are we banning TikTok again?
Yeah, why
the Chinese are spying on us?
What's the motivation behind this?
And then you start to get the young people fighting back a little bit, and they're like, well, you actually get to see that stuff is happening, and we get to get angry about it and go up again. Like the example that my daughter is a TikToker, which is not a surprise. She's a teenager.
Yeah, she's a teenager.
She showed me this article, or this TikTok post from someone else who was like, "Hey, you guys, everybody here knows about Norfolk Southern, right? As leave me out there, right? Mm-hmm. Well, in public news that didn't exist, but on TikTok, because you can see whatever you want to see, we all know that a train crashed into a small town in Ohio, and that there were chemicals spilled everywhere, and that they tried to cover it up, and then they couldn't cover it up, and now suddenly the secretary of the transportation has to go, and Trump has to go, and everybody's got to go, and they've got to, and all this information's going toward it, and all these people are going towards it. Suddenly, there's all this interest and excitement about this little place called Palestine,
Indiana,
East Palestine, Ohio.
Ohio.
It's like, and they didn't like that. Because they couldn't control the app because it's not an American app, because you found out about it here. So I don't think it's about the Chinese spying on us. I think it's about the fact that they can't control it.
Yeah.
Boy, did that catch fire.
Yeah.
And boy, it's like the opinion on whether or not to ban TikTok is like suddenly shifting because you took your momentum and you tried to spy on people.
Yeah.
And now you've given time for people to evaluate. Now it's like, are they going to ban TikTok? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's what's interesting is that we are in an era where information is being shared so freely that it scares the hell out of people who control the information.
Right.
It scares them.
Yeah.
They're like, we can't let this fly.
Right.
And people are like, too late.
Yeah.
We've already, the Pandora's box has been opened. We know how to talk to each other.
Yeah.
There's a ton of ways that we can communicate online. You ban TikTok, there will be another thing that gets the news out there before you do.
And this is the thing with the whole free speech and all the rest of it, right? Like, in the end, as much as you hear the narrative that we should ban this guy or not platform this person or deplatform whatever, naturally, people want information. Yeah. They want all the information they can get. Absolutely. They want as much data as they can possibly get. Yeah. Whether you're 10 years old, 5 years old, 3 years old, 40 years old, 102 years old, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter what you look like. Doesn't matter what your gender is. Doesn't matter where you're from. You want as much information as you can get. It's a natural instinct of people.
Yeah.
And so as much as you'll hear screaming about, we should not platform this, but that, again, is probably about the same percentage of people who are who are giving you these tweets that say, we're all pedophiles and all that, right?
Yeah.
Like that's who's doing this.
Yeah.
The average person is happy.
Yeah.
The average person wants to help other people.
Yeah.
The average person's trying to make their life better and the people around them better. That regular person would like to be able to get as much information as they require at any given moment.
Yeah.
It's tough to suppress that.
It is.
When everybody wants that.
Yeah. I agree.
I think you're right. I think you ban TikTok, something else shows up.
Something else. It's too late. From Reddit on to TikTok to everything else, we share information now. We share information. And so this goes all the way back to when Michael Jackson died, and they found out about it. The world found out about it because somebody took a picture and posted it on Twitter before it even hit the news.
Right.
The world changed. It was like eyes are everywhere. We're looking at all times. They wanted to control that story. They wanted to keep it where that information wasn't out, but it was too late. And so that's the world we live in now. We all have cameras. We all have video. We can all talk to each other immediately. And so it scares this world that has said, we say when you find out.
Right.
We let you know what news you focus on. It's like, I don't know. Yeah. That day might be gone. So
I hope so.
I hope so too.
Because that's authoritarianism.
That's authoritarianism, and it's the crazy thing is it's a kind of it's a hidden one because people think like that's not happening, is it?
No.
And it's like,
come on,
might be a little bit.
I think that COVID and the pandemic in general brought to light for most people just how bad it actually was. Because when you are getting such a huge variation of information, like when the conservative half of the media is saying one thing so positively and so loudly, and then the liberal half of the media is saying something equally loudly and equally opposite, and they're both certain about it, and they're both trying to make sure that everybody agrees with it, and they're both screaming and panicking about it.
Yeah.
You start to dig in and go like, why is the information so different?
Right.
Why is it so completely different?
So completely different.
And you look at it for a minute and go, this can't be right. If it's this different, then it's wrong.
Yeah.
And then you start to look at it and you start to notice, well, they lied about that thing.
Yeah.
Oh, but then those guys lied about that thing.
Yeah.
Well, then these guys, and then you start to see how many times they actually like literally just lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the longer it goes, the more lies get exposed. The more you're like, there are trusted news sources lied for like the entire pandemic.
Yeah.
They just sat there and they all lied to us.
Yeah. And then this news cycle that we're in now and the way that things are reported, you have somebody out there who just decides, I'm going to make a graphic to prove a point to my Facebook group, right? Like I'm going to take a photo of a park that was littered 10 years ago, and I'm gonna take that park and I'm gonna put on it, this is what it looked like after the Greta Thunberg, environmental peace thing. And they put that on their Facebooks because they want to prove that environmentalists are just as wasteful as anybody else, and they're all hypocrites. And then somebody goes, that image that you took is from a completely different event, completely out of context. You just photoshopped it on there. But guess what? It's too late because somebody grabbed it who is in a position of media and power and news and authority, and they ran with it. They ran with it. They shared it, and now it's too late. It's too late. It's already out there, and now everybody on one side goes, see, environmentalists, they're just as much of a wasteful people, and Greta, blah, blah, blah. I give that as an example because I was just thinking of one that happened that I was like, that's a real thing. People just take images, create a meme, create something to justify their argument. They share it, and because all we do now is share stuff, it spreads like wildfire, and then you don't know what's the truth,
right?
What's not.
Well, see, but the problem is then when what's supposed to be a reputable piece of information, right? A reputable source.
Yeah.
And this is what, and it got me. You wind back however many podcasts, and I'm defending a lot of these big companies.
Yeah, yeah.
But after the pandemic, it is difficult because you start to see them use things like this that are blatantly wrong.
Yeah.
And instead of retracting and apologizing and saying, hey,
that was wrong.
We got that wrong and we're going to do better, which is what they used to do. They just kind of, take it down and don't worry about it. Just don't talk about it. It's no big deal.
Yeah, we didn't do anything. We didn't do anything wrong.
And then what am I supposed to think at that point?
Right.
It's like, wait, so I can't trust you.
I can't trust you.
And so I don't. I listen. I've had to find other sources for news.
Yeah.
I had to.
Yeah.
Because I can't rely on it.
Yeah.
And that is a devastating.
It's a bummer.
Devastating blow to our establishment of this country.
Yeah.
The establishment is in trouble and they know it.
Yeah.
Because people aren't stupid.
Yeah.
They know. You can tell when you're being played with.
You can, and our children are growing up in a world where they know, whereas our parents and even us still have an inkling like, I should trust the guy with the tie behind the news desk, right? I should trust them.
Yeah.
Our parents more,
Yeah.
us a little bit, and our children are growing up in a world that go, they're all full of it.
Yeah.
I don't believe once. I'd rather go to Mr. Beast for news.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's what they're thinking in their heads. They're going, why would I trust somebody who is working for this that my dad gets mad at or my grandparents get mad at, and then I go to this friend's house and their parents are getting mad at the other guy. And so all I know and all my peers know is none of these guys are doing it for the right reasons. It's all driven by money. It's all driven by sway. It's all driven by influence and these dollars. And so they're going to just completely disregard the news cycle.
And here's the same earlier example. Mm-hmm. Here's what my daughter can tell me about what happened in East Palestine. Mm-hmm. She can tell me where it happened. Mm-hmm. She can tell me who the players were. Mm-hmm. She can tell me that when they measured the water and when they measured the air, that it was done by consultants working for the train company and not the EPA, and that the EPA took the data and then published it as their own, even though it said in the papers that it was done by the consulting company.
Right.
She can give me all of this detailed information that does not exist on NBC, on CBS, on Fox, on the show. None of it is not there.
Nope.
You can't find it. She can tell me all of this information about what's happening there, about how the people are reacting to it, about the fear that's in the community, about the frustration in the area, about the lack of any kind of government assistance. All of this stuff.
Yep.
And she got none of it from the major news sources who were doing their best to hide it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She
got it from Devin on TikTok.
TikTok.
Right. So she got it from somebody who's a kid or a teenager or a 20-something who's living in it or is around it, and it goes, why isn't anybody talking about this? Why isn't anybody talking about this? And gains nothing financially.
No.
Gains nothing.
No, he just wants to be able to go home.
Yes.
And not be afraid to drink the water.
Yeah, and if somebody came at me right now and said, oh, well, they're doing it for clicks, it's like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. If they get clicks by telling the truth, they don't gain anything other than becoming the person who's known for telling the truth.
Right.
That's it. They don't get a ton of money. TikTok doesn't show up at your doorstep. If your video gets seen by 20 million people because you're dropping facts, you don't really get paid anything.
And he can tell you that because he literally is a TikTok celebrity.
I do it. And so when you get your videos seen by millions of people, you don't get money. You become known as the person who is the thing that you just shared. Right. So the kid, the TikToker, whoever it is now known as a truth teller.
Right.
That's a great feeling. To wake up every day and go, I am now known by millions of people for telling the truth. That feels good. Mm-hmm. And we don't live in a world now where the people who are in the position of telling the news have that feeling at all.
No.
Because
they're working for somebody.
They got to answer to somebody.
I never in my life thought on our podcast.
I know
that we would sit here like talking about the man.
I know.
Right? And the man bringing you down, because that's just not our game.
I know.
But I felt like, you know what, you were getting into this topic, and maybe this was the time. And audience, if this isn't what you want to see, then I apologize. It just seems important for social sustainability that there's some awareness brought to this. Yeah. It's not that we're generally going to go back to farts and slapping each other in the face and all the rest of it. But it seems like it's a big issue because you're being told that we hate each other. You're being told that there's going to be a civil war. You're being told that we need to have a great separation. You're being told that we can never agree and that people hate each other and you can't trust your neighbor or your friend or the Republican or the Democrat or the whoever who happens to live in your area. And the fact of the matter is that the numbers say that's not true. In fact, not only is it untrue, but things are actually happier for people now than they were in 2012.
Right? That was just insane.
That seems like an insane concept. But if you take a moment and you step out of what you're being told and take a look at what you experience,
Yes.
just with the people around you and what you're trying to do day to day to move on, and see what you think. Yeah. See how true does it seem? How true is that statement?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line is you can get sold a bill of goods or you can trust your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we live in these communities. We go to work every day. We see the same people. And I would imagine the people that you share desks with and space with and work with, you're always going to be able to see the humanity and the similarities between you and that person, no matter what you do in your politics or what you invest your dollars in. We're a lot more alike each other than they want us to believe. Mm-hmm. A lot more.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we did this show. I may do the following show contains some sensitive subject material or whatever at the top, just in case.
Just so people know that we're
just so they know
we're going to dig in.
Yeah, just because
it's fine. On your point, I'm sorry if we tangenting or keep going, but
please.
You know when you meet somebody from somewhere else, mm-hmm. they look different, or they dress different, or they sound different, mm-hmm. or they have an accent, or whatever else, right? Yeah. You meet somebody from somewhere else,
some other country.
Do you find, and maybe it's just me, I haven't workshopped this, but do you find that when you've met that person that what they're about is incredibly interesting?
Always.
So where are you from?
Always.
Like, so what's the food like there? What are the okay, so what's cool in your where you live? Like what do people do? What are they into? Mm-hmm. What do they wear? What places do you go to? Do you guys what's the fun thing to do when you're going out? Do you guys party?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this guy, I find that stuff it's so much more interesting to me when I find someone who's different, to find out about what their life is.
Yes.
And that can't be uncommon.
No, and I love people, and I love differences in people, and I love learning more. And any time I've ever been, when I was working in IT, I was working with a lot of guys from India. Yeah. And I would sit there and we would get into lunches, and I would let them just explain everything about their neighborhoods, their culture, their food, their dance, their music, their marriages, the whole thing. And I was like this.
Yeah.
Because it was fascinating to me because I knew nothing about it. Yeah. Nothing. I knew nothing. And I think that's so cool. I think that's so cool. And that's the inclination in me, and that's the inclination in you, is that if I see something, I experience something that I have no awareness of, I want to learn about it. Yeah. I really do.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons I think people want to travel.
Yeah.
Deep down, right? Is because they want to be able to see.
I want to see the other parts of the world.
Yeah. What is it out there? What's it like?
What is your hamburger equivalent? Yeah. Right? Like, what's your apple pie? What's your baseball? What's the thing that I know?
What's your chocolate bar?
Yeah, what's your chocolate bar? What's the thing? What's considered to be dressing up on a night on the town? Like, I want to know these things. I think that's cool.
What are your monuments?
Yeah.
What's important? What are the things?
What's a folk song that's sung and regarded? What's a lullaby that your mom sang? I just
got any cool hats?
Yeah, of course you do.
Everything.
Other countries have the best hats. They really do.
Yeah,
no, I think that's true.
I think that's all. That's something else I would encourage people to do on the show is if you're nervous about travel or nervous about going to other places, start small. Yeah. Start with something that's maybe semi-familiar.
Go to Canada.
Go to Australia. Go to England.
Yeah, go to something where they speak your same language.
Go someplace where it's go to Europe. Go where it's a little closer culturally, and just dip your toe.
Dip your toe and
then get used to being a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit out of your out of what you're used to.
Yeah.
And then when you get good at sort of being uncomfortable, okay, well, let's try places where they speak a different language.
Where I might be a little lost.
Yeah.
Become a reluctant traveler, just like Eugene Levy.
A reluctant traveler, yeah. And then eventually you find that you are in the deepest jungle of, the Amazon, and I'm like, wow, look at this.
Yeah. Look, man, I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and my ability to connect with people from other parts of the world was pretty small as a child in the 80s and 90s. And the older I got, and especially when I moved to LA, I met a lot of cool people from so many different races and backgrounds and religions and countries that it really helps to have that experience. You really, really need to be connecting and understanding people from all around the world, because then you just begin to see that, the things that I know to be true aren't necessarily true for everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? It really takes you out of that whole, but this is what I know, and it's like, well, they don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's not even a subject that's discussed where they grew up.
Yeah.
So have a little patience, man.
I mean, this is,
Right?
Boy, we could spend hours.
We could spend hours.
Because I have so much to say about all this, but I think we can't. I think if we dig in, it's a whole different type of show, and we've done a pretty good job.
We've done a good job because
hitting the thing. So I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. We started to this show that we did today was, here we were talking about how divisive online social media and politics are, and then here comes this report. So we hadn't done a social sustainability episode in a while. We've done them in the past because during the pandemic, we were talking about the dangers of how social media affects people. There was that documentary that we both watched on Netflix called The Social Network or whatever. No, it wasn't. That's the movie.
Social disaster. It was a social
something. But it was
problem?
Maybe it was that. It was just a documentary. It was talking about how negatively it impacted. I watched it with my son. I remember him crying, because it was so heavy to see how a toll that this thing had taken on people. Yeah. And so it's when these topics come up, we kind of have always trusted that they came up for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, here we were talking about that media clip that called Democrats pedophiles, and then I turn around and the first thing I see is this thing that says World Happiness Report, we're on the up, and I'm like, that doesn't match what we talked about this morning at all. So it felt very natural to say, let's just stop, and the people that live on the planet are just as important as the planet. Our health is important, and so if you can walk away from today's show and realize, like, maybe close the app and just talk to the people in your neighborhood for a little bit.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Right? Get face to face, because face to face,
get some time with people.
Face to face, people are a lot more themselves.
They really are.
Than they are, even the ones who are going nuts, right? Because a lot of times people are going nuts because they get angry that it's not, someone's saying something's not true, and they think that it matters.
Yeah.
But actually, in the end, my opinion about Democrats and whether or not they're pedophiles changed not one iota.
Not one iota.
Based on a social media hit story.
Yeah.
About a congressperson saying that they were.
Yeah.
I will never believe that.
No. And I will also do my best that if somebody gives me a piece that's from the other side, I will always do my best to go, if somebody says all Republicans are this, I'm going to look into why this is being said, what's trying to be gained from it, who's saying it, are they a trustworthy source? Probably not if it's inflammatory like that. And I'm also going to do my due diligence on my side to pay attention to when things are being said on the other side that are irresponsible, because it comes from both sides. So I encourage you to keep an eye out for both sides doing this kind of, I'm going to get you to be angry about what the other people are doing.
Yeah, look, it's a successful tactic if you want to keep things as they are.
Yeah.
And not actually deal with the problems that keep people from making money and being successful and getting their share of the wealth. Mm-hmm. Boy, I sound like a total hippie, but it's true.
It's true though.
If you want to keep people where they are and not change much, but still have the system continue, then all you have to do is keep them believing that the other side are evil.
Keep them angry. It's all a tactic, and the angrier you are at the other side, the more you will continue to do what is asked of you without any questions. And so I think it's important that we ask questions, look in, find who's giving me the information and why. Why are they giving me this information? What is to be gained from it?
And think about, everybody knows different people. There's somebody who's, anytime they talk about any group, anytime that someone is saying a mean thing about some religious group or some group that has some malady or has some belief or looks some certain way, or
Anytime.
identify some certain way or whatever.
And they say all are this.
Right. Think about the people that you know who are similar to that or have some piece of that in their life. And think about that person and your relationship with that person and the experience you've had with that person. And then ask yourself, is that person this? I'll bet that they are not.
Right.
And you got to remember that.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. So this is definitely a show that I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did it.
Every once in a while.
Every once in a while. You got to stop and look. We talk about enzyme energy and mushrooms as meat and, windmills and solar and different things on the planet. And that's what we're here for the majority of the time. But every now and then I want to check in with the folks and make sure, hey, are you taking care of yourself?
Yeah.
You're being good with your water. You're taking care of your waste. You're composting. You're looking after the animals. You're looking after the forest. But also just stop and make sure you're not scrolling on your phone until 2 a.m. getting into an argument with a stranger about nonsense. Don't do that.
Don't.
It's a waste of time.
Don't get into a pissing contest.
No.
With a person who doesn't even have to go to the bathroom. They're not actually peeing. They've got a water bottle and they're just pouring water. It's not a real thing.
Yeah, and don't just remember that the things that are said online are trying to get you to stay there. They're trying to get it to go. So again, I'm repeating myself, but you know what I'm saying.
It's important.
Just remember that we're all doing our best and trying to make a world where our kids can grow up and have an all right time for the grandkids and so on and so forth. So anyway, that's the podcast.
That's the podcast.
So with that, thank you for checking out the Biofriendly Podcast today. We did put a little warning up front, so we got into some stuff. And these will happen from time to time, but you can count on us next week to just be back with the same old silly nonsense and environmental stuff, because we will take a break from these. But hey, we still laughed a little bit in some of it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we did.
For sure.
But we are still the show that you know and love. And again, make sure to give us those comments and share and spread the word. We can't do this show without you. So with that, we say we are your beacon of light in a gloomy environment.
Bringing you top quality content since 1823.
Science without the stiffness.
Green without the groaning.
Yes. Inspiring fear and love. And do you remember the new one?
Yes. This is a show about patience.
We did it.
Oh my God, there was no Veronica. Oh my God. We actually remember the tag.
She would be so proud of us right now, because I think that maybe because we know she's there.
Yeah, she's here in spirit.
When we know she's there.
Got it.
When we know she's there, we know we don't have to dig that far into the filing cabinet.
Right, because she's got it. She's got
it right there.
She has these hand signals that she gives to try to work us into it.
And as we're searching for it, the funniest thing is I wish the audience could see her head tilt when we're like, science without that, and she go,
she's like, you can do it.
You got it. No, you don't got it.
You missed it.
But since she's not here to say it, so Ronnie's ghost says,
stop and smell the flowers.
Yay.
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.